What's up, my friends? Welcome to another video. I'm Rob Stuart and I'm here to help you get your skin and your overall health back on track. So we have a really exciting video today. It's another success story. About a month ago, Tunnel reached out to me through email thanking me, saying, with the help of your 3 Phases workbook, your YouTube videos, and Primal Edge Health, he has healed his eczema and put on a pretty significant amount of healthy muscle. In today's video, I want to share with you guys his story. I want to share with you guys his results, and I want to focus on 3 main areas which I think will help you the most in basically your journey. You can learn a lot from his honesty and from his failures and from his successes. So the video is going to be broken down into 3 main parts. What he was doing before he healed, what he did during the time that he healed, and what is he currently doing now after he's healed to maintain and keep the gains and keep the healthy skin that he has. So stay tuned. I hope you are inspired. I hope you enjoy this video. I'm going to do my best to give as many details of his plan and what he did as possible, so stay tuned. Okay, so first off, the first thing he tried to do to overcome his skin disease is he went vegan. And he went vegan for a better part of 3 full years. During this 3 years, he explains to me that it was really, really horrible. His skin went from medium bad to really bad to even worse. So the vegan diet for him really, really messed him up. It messed him up so bad that it led him to having to kind of go back to steroids, seeing his dermatologist, getting some type of clinical pharmaceutical drug to put on the surface of his skin to cut down the itching, the inflammation, and the redness. He was at wit's end. The vegan diet was really messing him up. So he did the steroid thing, and unfortunately that led him to having a pretty bad TSW withdrawal, and just made things go from worse to even worse. During the 3 years that he was vegan, he was doing it pretty darn by the book. He was eating lots of fruit, lots of beans, lots of greens, and pretty much the entire diet was all whole foods. During this time, besides his skin not improving at all and actually getting way worse, he became what he calls demasculinized, very frail, very thin, and just very emaciated and weak. During this time as a vegan, he also started suffering from big bouts of weekly diarrhea, kind of showing how horrible and how bad his digestion had fully become. Tunnel, though, is a very smart and hardworking individual. Like all of us who heal our skin, you have to, at a certain point, go full responsible for yourself and start to make rational decisions based on data. So this is what he started to do when he began to lift the veil. So he was 3 years deep in veganism. It was basically just ruining his skin, ruining his gut health. And he started to think, okay, I need to make some positive changes and I need to make some drastic changes. A few things that led to his transformation and led to him to start to have success were some little adjustments he made to his vegan diet and, more importantly, to his lifestyle. So he was still vegan then, mostly, and he cut out oils completely. That did help quite a bit, and that does help a majority of people I work with. It was a major stepping stone for me. There are oils in everything, and most of the plant oils and most of the plant fats can be extremely toxic, especially when they're coming from bad sources. Besides stopping the oils, he went from kind of focusing on saunas and hot baths and things like that and switched over to cold exposure treatments and cold exposure therapies. mostly doing just simple, cold, really cold showers on a daily basis. So he started making these changes, and he did start to see some slight changes in his biomarkers and his skin, but things were still not great. So he made the decision to buy my 3 phases workbook, and from that point on, the healing started to happen on a much more rapid basis. Let's take a look at what he started to do holistically, diet-wise, to make the healing happen. So now we're going to focus on what Tanel did during the time that he healed. So one thing that he did, and this is probably the most smart thing that anyone can do when they are in the early phases of trying to reverse skin disease and they are totally lost. Most people think that they can figure out a diet based on emotions, watching some YouTuber and being emotionally inspired and then following exactly what they did, or they make their decision based on emotions. I love animals, I love the vegan movement, so that will heal me, without any data, without any real knowledge of how their own body works. What Tanel did, and this is something that I suggest everyone does, is he started a daily journal. 5 to 8 sentences, nothing too drastic, just explaining how his biomarkers were doing and kind of his general food intake. These are 2 drastically huge points of data, and for the next long while, he did that every single day. This gave him the ability to go back without any type of nonsense or distraction or emotion or fakeness in any way. Look at the data. When I eat this, my biomarkers do this. When I do these holistic things, my biomarkers respond this way. And he had a roadmap of data so that he could make conscious, smart decisions. So using his daily journal and my 3 phases workbook, he jumped back into a plant-based cleansing and detoxification approach for phase 1. And he started to gain a little momentum. He cleaned up the diet even further. But the same issues were still popping up. Some diarrhea, too much weight loss, too much emaciation. And with the help of the 3 phases workbook, was able to say, okay, boom, the vegan diet is no longer going to serve me. My biomarkers are absolutely proving that I need to eat bioavailable fat and protein from animal sources. So he made the switch to the keto diet. Along with making that switch to the keto diet and the cold exposure, he found one other amazing trick: doing short water fasts, which was also something that I did during my first year of healing that totally changed the way my skin looked from the very first water fast that I did. And I'm gonna read this quote to you from him to me. He said, "It blew my mind to see that my skin healed before my eyes." And this was in his first 3-day water fast during phase 1 from the 3 phases workbook. He literally said that each day, on a linear fashion, the suppleness, the smoothness, the itchiness, the redness of his skin was dissipating. And not that he was cured in 3 days, but for the first time, he saw the light at the end of the tunnel. And that 3-day water fast really set him in the right direction. At that time, he started using CBD oil, and it really started to help the way that his itchiness felt. It helped him sleep better. It helped his itchiness and the redness immensely as well. He started taking control of his lifestyle, going on long walks, doing yoga every single day, started lifting some weights, and he changed his narrative and he changed his story about his own suffering, which was something that almost all of my clients who heal do. It's something that was a major part of my healing journey. Before I healed, like Tanel, I was in this victim mentality. Oh, I have this autoimmune disease, it's genetic, and the doctors say I can't be cured, and poor me, and I'm so sad, and look at my skin. What Tanel told me was that he changed his mind about all of that BS, that victim story. And what he said is he just erased it from his memory. And because of Primal Edge Health and myself, he said that we both really motivated him in this factor to become his own hero. to become his own guru, to become his own master, and to take control of his healing, and no more telling that fake story and that narrative that no one can ever heal and I'm just a victim and my skin will be this way forever. He said, F that. I'm taking control. I will be my own hero. I will be my own guru. And that helped him get motivated and go and take this whole thing to a whole nother level. You got to find your motivating factors, and you got to find your psychological, spiritual, emotional approach, because as you know, healing the skin is a long-term thing. It's gonna take the rest of your life to stay healthy and clear. Is that a big deal? No, you can do it. You can definitely do it. I can do it. Everyone can do it. You just have to set some rules, some parameters, and get busy learning the skills. Once you've learned the skills and have the habits, then it's easy. Then sustaining it for the rest of your life, like I'm doing, is really no problem. Another thing that Tunnel was doing during his healing time was he struggled to find moisturizers that worked for him. He was using the over-the-counter stuff, and it was messing up his skin. He would go to the natural oils like coconut oil, and it just was a little too abrasive for him. It caused too much inflammation. He did find some other oils that just kind of worked, but not to the level that he really wanted. And he was also worried about using so much moisturization that it would start to kind of dilute his body's own ability to make it. So he had an awesome idea, and I actually learned this from him. Why not just use tallow as your topical skin solution? And that's what he did, and that's what he continues to do to this very day. Render tallow as his moisturization. And it worked wonderfully for him. It cut down inflammation, it cut down the redness, cut down the itchiness. And this is a very genius approach, because just like what you're eating, whatever you put on the surface of your skin is a nutrient. It's gonna go into your body. And as we know, the only bioavailable big macronutrients come from animals. So it makes sense that if eating the animal fats is more bioavailable and eating the animal proteins is more bioavailable, then using the animal rendered fat as a way to moisturize and lubricate the skin is most likely more bioavailable as well, which it is. So picking up back on the diet part of it, he was keto at this point and he was starting to have some success, but something inside of him felt like he could go further with it, refine it better, and he was still having quite a bit of itchiness despite the skin looking and feeling better. So at this point, he decided to do the full transformation to kind of a carnivore style diet. He said that this transition to focusing on mostly bioavailable animal foods was one of the key switches and refinements that he made that made huge difference in the way that his itchiness felt and the way that his overall skin was healing. And he did it from the get-go in kind of a refined way, the way that I currently do it, by adding a smart amount of carbohydrates to the carnivore diet, some from animal sources, some from plant sources that he knew worked well for him. So during this time when he started to have the most amount of success, he's doing cold exposure, he's doing his journaling, he's doing some water fasting here and there, he's doing his walking, he's doing his yoga, and he's starting to focus on the bioavailable foods. Here's specifically what he was eating and what he was focusing on while he was healing. So he was doing a lot of beef and sheep, he was doing some fish, he was doing some liver, he was doing some tallow, he was doing some butter, and he was doing some goat yogurt and goat butter. And he used like mashed potatoes with butter to be kind of as easy to digest carbohydrate. That works really well for him, and it rounded out his macros, allowed him to feel more satiated and filled out. He also would eat a little bit of seasonal fruit like pears and apples, some low glycemic stuff that he liked and enjoyed, but really keeping the carb intake ultra low. Like me, when I add a little bit of carbohydrate like raw honey, maybe some seasonal fruit, maybe potatoes to my carnivore diet, it helps me put on muscle and healthy weight like that. And once I've reached the level of thickness and satiation I like in my body, and maybe I want to either maintain it or shred it out a little bit and drop some body fat, just take away the carbohydrates, focus back on the meat and on the fats, and voila, in a few weeks you will be way more toned, a little less fat, And this makes it a super easy system to adjust and to play with. One of the reasons why I love the carnivore diet and kind of the style that both Tunnel and me do it. At one point, he started to feel ultra solidified with the carnivore diet and with his lifestyle routine, all the way to the point where he said, you know what? I am going to test this out. I want to see if this is actually solidified or not. So he went on a junk food binge. He ate donuts, he ate cookies, he ate cakes, he ate whatever the hell he wanted, dairy, this, that, the other, ice cream. And guess what happened to him? Well, nothing. The next day, nothing. The week after, nothing. His biomarkers, no change. His skin, no change. Kind of proving that he had solidified a certain level of gut microbiome health, and he'd done enough work on the side with the yoga and the cold exposure to change his out of whack autonomic nervous system response. So he had totally addressed the two most important factors for healing your skin, and he was proving to himself that he could do it. Even if he had some junk food here and there, he could still heal and still have clear skin. This made him extremely confident. This made him understand that his knowledge and his ability to change his narrative and be his own hero was actually real. And that was pretty much the path of how he got to the place of being fully healed. So another transition that he made during that healing time was one that a lot of people make that make a huge difference. So with most of my clients, they come to me and they're doing a ton of cardio, they're maybe doing some yoga, they're doing a lot of things that are kind of draining their bodies. Now cardio has its place, yoga has its place, they're both really wonderful, but we need to be balanced. You also need to do some resistance training. You need to lift some heavy stuff. Lifting heavy stuff, having a resistance training routine, working out on a weekly basis enough times will do a couple things. One, it will change your hormones, no doubt. It will lead to more growth hormone, more testosterone, a balanced thyroid. It is something that you must do. Once he started doing that, he started seeing major changes in his physique, in his brain, in his hormones, and it really helped balance things out. By the end of his healing journey, before he started going into maintenance mode, he had gone from doing lots of walking and lots of yoga and kind of like really focusing on other things to kind of really getting his ice baths in, really doing his cold exposure in daily, really doing plenty of water fasting, but not too much. 1 day, sometimes 3 days per month, and then he got really on the resistance training tip, going to the gym 2 hours, 5 to 6 days a week, and really focusing on building himself back up. So those were the main things that led to him healing. And I want to get into what he's doing now to maintain everything, but just as a little mid-video reminder, it was the transition from vegan based on his biomarkers. And in his opinion, it was the fact that he started keeping a journal at the end of his vegan disaster, which led to all of this happening. Because he kept his journal, he stopped guessing and he started always having the ability to have data to go on. I'm eating this, it's not working. I'm eating this, it's not working. I'm eating this, biomarkers are changing. I'm eating that still, biomarkers are getting better. I make this adjustment, biomarkers are getting even better. In the 3 Phases workbook, this is the first thing that you are supposed to do. Journal, write down what you're eating, have data to go back on. This solves so many problems. He did it really well. Also, if you notice, he went from focusing on heat, hot baths and saunas and things like that, to focusing on getting a little bit uncomfortable and using cold exposure as much as he possibly could. These two things, along with going from a vegan diet to a carnivore diet and going from focusing more on walking and things like that to resistance training, those 4 things made all the difference for his healing, in my opinion. Let's get on to what he's doing now to maintain what he's already achieved. So one of the tips that he gave me to give to other people is that he loves to use his Instapot. He still uses it to this day, and during his healing year, he really used this all the time. He makes bone broth in it, he makes all sorts of stuff, he makes tallow in it, he makes his kefir and his yogurt. He also makes these little jello fat bombs that are made from basically boiling bones, and the bone marrow gets gelatinized and turns into these little jelly-like things. for me and for him, those little fat bombs are really, really tasty. I'm not a huge fan of eating tallow. I just don't like the way it tastes. But I have made those gelatin fat bombs, and I can eat those suckers plain. They have a little bit of sweetness. You can even throw them in soup, throw them on food and let them melt, and they will just add a lot of bioavailable, super healthy fats and really healing nutrients to your diet. He uses the Instapot to make all of these things, and everyone needs to find a tool or a couple tools that opens up their kitchen and allows them to utilize all the different parts of the animals, which is really important and which is a key ingredient to his third part of this video, which is maintaining and refining long-term to keep the progress going forever. So now he's eating every part of the animal. He's eating the organs, he's eating the livers, he's eating the heart, he's eating the marrow. It's just a total usage of the bioavailableness of these wonderful, wonderful, healthy nutrients that these animals provide for us. During his healing year and during his maintenance year, he also had to really focus on unbrainwashing himself. He fell hook, line, and sinker for the vegan propaganda movement. He felt that it's the safest and best for the environment. If I just go vegan, it will be a no-brainer. I will definitely 100% heal. Animal foods are bad. Animal foods are poison. You know, Dr. Greger says that meat is bad and causes cancer, so it does. So it took him a little while to unravel that, and he used, again, Primal Edge Health, myself, and a bunch of other resources online to let him understand that an ancestral traditional diet, one that Weston Price studied, one that Natasha McCampbell uses to help with autism, the GAPS diet, it's all based around the same thing: bioavailable fats and proteins, the two nutrients that humans need to build their brain, to build new cells, to build proper muscularity, to build all of the things that make your skin healthy long term. Also, they are the foods and the nutrients that have the least people who are susceptible to being allergic to them. If you look at the plant kingdom and the plethora of plant foods out there, there is so many allergies that come from that branch of food. You will be hard found someone who is allergic to beef and salt. Most people, almost all people, can handle animal fats and animal proteins. So by changing his mentality once again, he further established himself as his own guru, his own hero, and stepped into a powerful, confident eating and lifestyle that has totally revolutionized the way that he looks, the way that he feels, and his entire life. To this day, he is still doing a few water fasts per month, sometimes one, just sometimes 3 days. Nothing too crazy, but just keeping his autophagy going, keeping his gut biome healthy, and any sort of residual inflammation from just living kind of gets pushed out during this process. He's also still lifting weights almost daily. He says he's doing about 2 hours, 5 to 6 times a week. So he's really hitting it hard, and he's really getting a great response from his body doing so. He's still doing his cold exposure, and he's still sticking to his modified carnivore diet, one that uses all different parts from head to tail of the animal, the organ meats, the fat, the obvious, the steaks and the regular meat. And he's consistent with all of it. Some other things that are more obvious is during the time when he wasn't healed, he was still messing around with too much caffeine, too much coffee. And during his healing year, he was able to totally ditch that, and it made a huge difference as well. So as you can see, when you start to focus 100% of your energy on reading your own biomarkers, understanding that you got to make adjustments based on data from what your body actually needs, you will start to progress the same way that Tunnel did. Also, you have to understand that this wasn't a 6-month process or a 2-month process. This is the hero's journey. This does take a warrior mentality to naturally heal your body of an extremely crazy autoimmune disorder. He took upon the challenge. He had his ups and downs, but the thing that you notice is he stuck with it and never gave up. He addressed his mentality. He addressed his emotions. He stayed on path. He wasn't afraid to go from vegan to carnivore. And when he did, he was given everything that he's ever wanted as far as health with his skin and his overall health. Okay, so I want to read this to you guys because this is literally why I do what I do. In his emails to me, he has expressed a lot of gratitude, and by far the most motivating thing for me is when someone reaches out to me and says, dude, I have healthy skin, I'm 20 pounds heavier and more muscular, my hormones are back on track, I have a great life now, thank you so much for the work that you do. So this is what he said. It says, it's hard to express my gratitude in words in an email. I just want you to know that you played a key role in the crisis period of my life, and I'm deeply thankful for you as a human being, for your work spreading this extremely needed information that saves lives. Thank you, Rob. You are a hero. And I will say this, Tunnel, you are a hero just as much, if not more. And all of you people out there can be your own hero. You can be my hero. You can be everyone's hero, just by taking these steps that Tunnel did to reach your own personal salvation with the health of your skin and your overall health. As you can see, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of effort, but is it worth it? Hell yes. Thanks so much for watching this video. For all of my personal skin health offerings, there's links below for everything. My Instagram channel, my website, my private coaching, the 3 Phases workbook, all of my offerings to help you guys with your skin. You can go to my website, holistichealthactivation.com. Everything's there. It's well organized. Reach out to me if you need help, and I'd be happy to help you guys. Also, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'll do my best to get to the ones that are the most relevant. If you haven't already done this, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, and remember that the best way that you can help me and help people like Tunnel and help all the people who are having success spread the word is to share these videos, share this knowledge, help plant the seed to people that you can naturally heal your skin. You can do it with diet, you can do it with lifestyle, and the dermatologists and doctors are wrong. It's not a death sentence. You will not be skin diseased for the rest of your life without a cure. You're not a victim of a genetic overload disease the way they try to make it sound like it is. You do have a choice, you do have the power, and you can heal your body. It's completely up to you, and I believe in you. So best of luck to you guys. I'll be back with many more videos really soon. Peace.